The richest black kid in Jamaica secretly owns the country. What if the next generation of black power in Jamaica isn't loud, flashy, or already rich, but quietly preparing to take control? On Legends of Black Excellence, we're pulling back the curtain on young names shaping the future before most people even notice. No fake hype, no overnight millionaire myths, just real positioning, real legacy, and real questions about how wealth truly begins. Stay with us because this story challenges everything you think you know about money, influence, and age. Watch closely, subscribe, and ask yourself who is really being prepared to win next. Sydney Burrell. Sydney Burrell enters public conversation not through controversy or self-promotion, but through lineage. She is the daughter of Orville Richard Burrell Shaggy, one of the most successful reggae and dancehall artists in history. When people discuss the richest black kid in Jamaica, Sydney represents a different category of wealth, not self-made business ownership, but inherited influence rooted in global music, intellectual property, and long-term cultural value. Her position reflects how power can exist quietly long before a person chooses a public path. Shaggy's career provides the foundation. With international hits like Boombastic It Wasn't Me and Angel multiple Grammy Awards, global tours, and decades of consistent catalog revenue, Shaggy built a brand that extends far beyond Jamaica. His music continues to generate income through streaming licensing and performance rights assets that do not disappear with time. While exact figures vary by source, Shaggy is widely recognized as a multimillionaire whose wealth is diversified across music rights, touring history, and brand partnerships. That financial structure forms the economic environment in which Sydney was raised. Importantly, Sydney Burrell does not publicly claim wealth, nor is she associated with any confirmed business ventures. There are no verified reports of her personal net worth, and responsible discussion avoids speculation. What can be stated with certainty is that she grew up with access to education, global exposure, and creative networks that most young people never see. These are forms of capital that do not show up on balance sheets, but often matter just as much as money itself. In Jamaica's social context, that access translates into long-term opportunity and soft power. Unlike many celebrity children, Sydney has largely remained private. Shaggy has occasionally shared family moments online, birthday posts, supportive messages, glimpses of fatherhood, but he has also been careful not to turn his children into public products. That restraint is significant. It suggests a deliberate effort to pass on legacy without pressure, allowing Sydney the freedom to define her own identity outside of headlines. For an older audience, this approach echoes traditional values: wealth preserved quietly, reputation protected, and choices left to the next generation. In the broader narrative of young power in Jamaica, Sydney Burrell represents legacy wealth at its most stable stage. She does not need to rush into business or entertainment to prove relevance. The influence already exists through her family name, cultural heritage, and economic foundation. Whether she chooses music, business, philanthropy, or complete privacy, her position illustrates a truth often overlooked: real power does not always announce itself. Sometimes it is inherited, carefully guarded, and waiting. Adidja Jahim Palmer Lickle Vibes and Akil Rahim Palmer Lickle Adi. Adidja Jahim Palmer, known as Lickle Vibes, and Akil Rahim Palmer, known as Lickle Adi, occupy a unique position in Jamaica's cultural and economic landscape. They are the sons of Adidja Azim Palmer, Vibes Cartel, one of the most influential and commercially successful figures in dancehall history. In discussions around the richest black kid in Jamaica, their names surface not because they publicly control vast fortunes today, but because they stand at the center of a legacy that blends music, branding, controversy, and enduring financial value. Vibes Cartel's career fundamentally reshaped dancehall. Long before his incarceration, he built a catalog of hundreds of songs, launched record labels, mentored artists, and established a brand that continues to generate revenue through streaming licensing and global fandom. His music remains among the most streamed Jamaican catalogs worldwide. While exact figures are not publicly verified, Kartel's body of work represents significant intellectual property, much of which forms the economic environment surrounding his children. That catalog alone ensures ongoing income and cultural relevance, an inheritance far more complex than cash. Lickle Vibes, born in 2003, and Lickle Addy, born a few years later, grew up immersed in dancehall culture. Unlike many celebrity children who stay behind the scenes, both began releasing music as teenagers. They performed at events, released singles, and appeared under the guidance of Kartel's extended musical network. Their early work positioned them not just as sons of a legend, but as young artists, learning to operate within a powerful brand ecosystem. Each release attracted attention precisely because it carried the weight of their father's name. Crucially, there are no confirmed public net worth figures for either Lickle Vibes or Lickle Addy. Responsible discussion avoids claims that they are personally wealthy in liquid terms. However, their influence lies in access. They are connected to studios, producers, promoters, and international audiences from a young age. In entertainment economies, access often precedes wealth. Their surname opens doors that most young artists spend decades trying to unlock. That positioning alone represents a form of power that cannot be measured in bank statements. Within Jamaica, the Palmer brothers symbolize generational continuity in dancehall. Fans see them as extensions of Kartel's creative spirit, carrying forward a sound and attitude that defined an era. Whether they ultimately dominate music, expand into business, or choose private lives, their role is already significant. They embody inherited cultural capital backed by a catalog that continues to earn and a fan base that spans continents. In the context of the richest black kid in Jamaica, Lickle Vibes and Lickle Addy remind us that wealth is not always immediate or visible. Sometimes it exists as legacy leverage and long-term potential, quietly waiting for the moment when inheritance becomes control. Rihanna Sutherland. Rihanna Sutherland is not a public figure by choice, but her name carries weight in Jamaica because of her father, Andre Hugh Sutherland, known worldwide as Popcorn. In conversations about the richest black kid in Jamaica, Rihanna represents a category that is often misunderstood. A young person whose influence comes not from current ownership or business leadership, but from being positioned inside a financially successful, globally connected entertainment empire. Her story is not about hype, it is about proximity to power. Popcorn is one of Jamaica's most commercially successful dancehall artists of the modern era. Through hit records, international tours, streaming revenue, brand partnerships, and collaborations with global artists, he has built a career that extends far beyond the island. Public estimates often place his net worth in the multi-million US dollar range, earned over more than a decade of consistent global relevance. That wealth, combined with long-term earning potential from music catalogs and endorsements, forms the economic environment in which Rihanna Sutherland is being raised. Rihanna herself has remained largely private. She is still young, and there are no verified reports of her personal net worth, businesses, or income, which is both expected and appropriate. What is visible, however, is Popcorn's role as an involved father. He has occasionally shared moments such as her school milestones, birthdays, and family celebrations, presenting her not as a public brand, but as a daughter whose presence motivates him. These glimpses reveal something important. Wealth is being paired with intention, structure, and protection. In Jamaica's cultural landscape, that matters. Children of successful entertainers often grow up under intense public pressure, but Rihanna Sutherland's upbringing appears deliberately balanced. She benefits from access to education, travel, and global exposure, while remaining shielded from the excesses of celebrity life. This combination creates a powerful foundation. Inherited wealth alone does not guarantee influence, but access, stability, and guidance dramatically increase long-term potential. Within the framework of the richest black kid in Jamaica, Rihanna Sutherland represents future-facing influence. She does not control assets today, but she is connected to systems that generate money, visibility, and opportunity on a global scale. In economies driven by culture, that connection is significant. Whether she chooses music, fashion, business, philanthropy, or complete privacy, her starting position is one most Jamaicans will never experience. Rihanna Sutherland's story reminds us that not all power announces itself early. Some of it is quiet, protected, and patiently developed. In that sense, her influence is not about what she owns today, but about the doors already open in front of her and the choices she will one day make with them. Levi Blaze Henriquez and Remy Lele. Henriquez. Levi Blaze. Henriquez and Remy Lele. Henriquez are still children, yet their names already sit within conversations about future wealth and influence in Jamaica. They are the son and daughter of Sean Paul Sean. Paul Henriquez, one of the most commercially successful Jamaican artists of all time. In discussions surrounding the richest black kid in Jamaica, Levi and Remy represent a form of power that is not earned early through business or fame, but inherited through a global entertainment empire built over decades. Sean Paul's career provides the foundation for that position. Since the early 2000s, he has maintained consistent international success with chart-topping hits, worldwide tours, streaming dominance, and brand endorsements. His music catalog continues to generate revenue across platforms, making it a long-term income asset rather than a short-lived peak. Public estimates frequently place Sean Paul's net worth around USD $25 million, accumulated through recording royalties, live performances, licensing, and partnerships. This financial stability forms the structured environment in which Levi and Remy are being raised. Levi Blaze. Henriquez, born in 2017, and Remy Lele Henriquez, born in 2019, are far too young to have personal businesses or independent income. There are no verified reports of personal net worth, and any claim otherwise would be speculation. What is relevant, however, is access. From birth, they are connected to global music networks, international travel elite, education opportunities, and a family brand recognized across continents. In the modern economy, such access often determines future success as much as capital itself. Their parents have taken a deliberate approach to visibility. Sean Paul and Jody Jinks. Stuart Henriquez occasionally share family moments, birthdays, milestones, quiet home scenes, but they do not market their children as celebrities. This restraint matters. It signals long-term thinking, protecting childhood, preserving privacy, and allowing identity to form without public pressure. For an older audience, this approach reflects traditional values around legacy, build first, protect, second, reveal, later. Within Jamaica's broader economic and cultural landscape, Levi and Remy symbolize next-generation continuity. They are not expected to carry fame immediately, but they are positioned within a system that produces wealth, influence, and cultural authority. Whether they eventually choose music, business, philanthropy, or entirely private lives, their starting point is extraordinary. In a country where opportunity is often limited by access, their connection to a globally monetized music catalog places them among the most economically advantaged children of their generation. In the context of the richest black kid in Jamaica, Levi Blaze Henriquez and Remy Lele. Henriquez remind us that wealth does not always announce itself early. Sometimes it waits, protected by parents, structured by advisors, and powered by assets that never stop earning. Their story is not about what they own today, but about what they are positioned to inherit tomorrow and how that inheritance could shape Jamaica's cultural and economic future in the years to come. Olympia Lightning Bolt, Thunderbolt, and St. Leo Bolt, Usain Bolt's son. Olympia Lightning Bolt, Thunderbolt, and St. Leo Bolt are still in early childhood, yet their names already carry national and global recognition. They are the children of Usain Bolt, the most decorated sprinter in history, and one of Jamaica's most influential public figures. In conversations surrounding the richest black kid in Jamaica, these children represent a form of wealth rooted not in early business ownership, but in legacy power built from global fame, long-term earnings, and national symbolism. Usain Bolt's career transformed sprinting into a worldwide spectacle. With 8 Olympic gold medals, multiple world records, and a brand recognized across continents, Bolt built wealth far beyond the track. His earnings came not only from competition winnings, but from major endorsement deals, appearance fees, and business ventures. Public estimates commonly place his net worth at approximately $90 million, making him one of the wealthiest athletes ever produced by the Caribbean. This financial foundation defines the environment in which Olympia Thunder and St. Leo are being raised. Olympia Lightning Bolt was born in 2020, followed by twin sons Thunderbolt and St. Leo Bolt in 2021. As minors, they have no personal net worth businesses or independent income, and there are no credible sources suggesting otherwise. Any wealth associated with their names belongs to their father and is managed privately. What matters instead is positioning. They are connected to international sports institutions, elite education opportunities, and a global brand that continues to generate income long after Bolt's retirement. Usain Bolt and his partner Cassie Bennett have taken a measured approach to parenting in the public eye. While they occasionally share family moments, birthdays, first haircuts, playful videos, they have made it clear that their children's futures will be their own. Bolt has openly stated that he does not pressure them to follow him into athletics. This balance of visibility and protection reflects a conscious effort to separate legacy from obligation. Within Jamaica, the Bolt children symbolize more than wealth. They represent continuity of national pride. Usain Bolt is not just a successful athlete. He is a cultural icon whose achievements reshaped how Jamaica is seen globally. His children inherit that symbolic power alongside financial security. Whether they eventually choose sports, business, philanthropy, or private lives, their names already command attention and respect. In the framework of the Richest Black Kid in Jamaica, Olympia Thunder and St. Leo Bolt remind us that some forms of power are inherited long before adulthood. They do not own Jamaica, but they are born into one of the strongest personal brands the country has ever produced. Their true wealth lies not in money alone, but in global recognition, protected opportunity, and the freedom to choose their own paths, advantages few children anywhere in the world ever receive. Lavian Balin DeMarcus. Lavian Balin. DeMarcus represents a different meaning of the richest black kid in Jamaica. His story is not about inheritance, celebrity parents, or hidden wealth. It is about early ownership discipline, and the ability to turn a simple skill into a scalable business while still in his teens. In a country where many young people struggle to access capital or opportunity, Lavian stands out as proof that economic influence can begin small and still grow real roots. Lavian is the founder and managing director of Baked Bio Foods and Snacks, a food-based startup that began with traditional Jamaican baking. Raised by his grandmother, he learned early how food connects culture, family, and income. Unlike many teen business stories that rely on online hype, Lavian's journey started offline and hands-on. With a reported startup capital of approximately JMD $2,000, he began selling baked goods while still in high school, reinvesting every dollar and refining his products through trial and error. There was no shortcut, only repetition and patience. What separates Lavian from a typical small seller is intentional scaling. Over time, Baked Bio Foods moved from home-based baking toward structured production, packaging, and distribution. By 2024-2025, the brand had begun securing local shelf space, with retailers expanding beyond individual customers to wholesale relationships. While the company remains privately held and relatively young, these steps signal a shift from hustle to enterprise. In Jamaica's food economy, reaching retail distribution is a major milestone. It means compliance, consistency, and trust. There are no public or verified net worth figures attached to Lavian Balin DeMarcus, and responsible discussion avoids exaggeration. His wealth today is not measured in millions, but in ownership and trajectory. He owns his idea, his process, and his brand direction. That ownership gives him leverage. Most young people do not have the ability to decide pricing, production, and growth strategy. In economic terms, that is early-stage power, and it often matters more than short-term income. Beyond numbers, Lavian's influence is social. His story is frequently cited in discussions about youth entrepreneurship in Jamaica, especially in rural and school-based settings. He has spoken openly about setbacks, failed batches, and learning business fundamentals the hard way. That transparency resonates with older audiences as well. It reflects traditional values of craftsmanship, persistence, and earning respect through work rather than image. In the context of the richest black kid in Jamaica, Lavian Balan DeMarcus represents the self-made path at its earliest and most honest stage. He does not control an empire yet, and he does not pretend to. What he controls is something just as important: a growing business built on Jamaican culture, local ingredients, and personal accountability. If wealth is measured not only by money, but by ownership, direction, and long-term potential, then Lavian's name belongs firmly in the conversation about Jamaica's next generation of economic leaders. Janeka Williams Jonica. When people hear the phrase "the richest black kid in Jamaica," they often expect exaggeration or rumor. In the case of Janeka boss Chin Williams, the reality is far more grounded and more impressive. She does not secretly own the country, nor does she claim billionaire status. What she represents is something more concrete: a young black Jamaican woman who built real economic power early in life, not through inheritance or entertainment, but through ownership, logistics, and scale. In a nation where business influence often comes late, Janeka's rise came fast, and it came young. Janeka is the founder of Chin Company Limited, a household and beauty products brand that began with an extremely modest start. Public interviews consistently report her initial capital at approximately JMD $5,000, a small sum even by local standards. Raised in poverty by a single mother who sold scrap metal and drove trucks to survive, Janeka had no access to capital networks or elite mentors. As a teenager, she sold small items at school, reinvested profits, and learned commerce through repetition. That early discipline laid the foundation for a company that would later reach across Jamaica and beyond. Today, Chin Company Limited supports around 7,000 vendors, island-wide, a figure that reflects economic reach rather than online hype. The company operates a warehouse in Portmore, maintains a retail storefront in Halfway Tree, and works with 22 international distributors supplying overseas markets. These are not symbolic achievements. Warehouses mean inventory control. Vendors mean income generation. Distribution agreements mean negotiating power. For someone still in her early 20s when much of this expansion occurred, Janeka positioned herself not as a small seller, but as a market operator. By Jamaican standards, Janeka Williams is widely described as a multi-millionaire based on property ownership, business assets, and ongoing commercial activity. Importantly, her wealth is not abstract. It is tied to products moving daily, vendors earning commissions, and consumers buying consistently. That is the kind of wealth that survives trends. It also explains why Janeka is often labeled a business influencer, not because of social media aesthetics, but because her decisions directly affect livelihoods. When she scales, thousands scale with her. That is economic influence in its purest form. So does Janeka Williams own Jamaica No, and claiming that would cross into fiction. But when wealth is defined as control over opportunity, supply chains, and money flow, her position becomes clear. Janeka represents a new generation of Jamaican power, young, black, self-made, and rooted in real commerce. In that sense, she doesn't need to own the country. She helps move it forward. Randre Elliott. Randre Elliott represents a quieter, more grounded category within conversations about the richest black kid in Jamaica. He is not widely known through viral fame or celebrity parents, and there are no exaggerated headlines attached to his name. Instead, Randre is often referenced in discussions around youth ambition, early financial awareness, and the growing presence of young Jamaicans thinking seriously about ownership and long-term wealth. His relevance comes from intention rather than spectacle. Unlike entertainment heirs or sports legacies, Randre Elliott's profile aligns more closely with the mindset shift happening among Jamaican youth, a shift toward understanding money assets and independence at an earlier age. While there are no verified public records of major businesses' multi-million-dollar valuations or inherited empires connected to him, his name surfaces in youth entrepreneurship circles because of how he approaches opportunity, cautiously, deliberately, and with a long-term view. That distinction matters especially for an older audience that values substance over hype. It is important to be clear and responsible. There are no confirmed figures regarding Rondre Elliott's net worth, company ownership, or large-scale investments. Any claim suggesting otherwise would cross into speculation. What can be said with confidence is that Rondre represents a generation being trained formally or informally to think about economics earlier than those before them. In Jamaica, where access to capital has historically been limited, that mental shift alone is powerful. Wealth often begins as awareness long before it becomes numbers. What sets figures like Rondre apart is discipline over display. There is no public record of luxury branding, social media performance, or exaggerated success stories. Instead, his name is associated with learning preparation and positioning. In real economic terms, this stage is critical. Many future business leaders begin years before public recognition studying markets, understanding systems, and building credibility quietly. This approach aligns closely with traditional models of wealth building respected by older generations. Within the broader theme of the richest black kid in Jamaica, Rondre Elliott represents potential rather than proof. He is not yet a case study in massive wealth, but he is an example of how wealth pathways start. In economies like Jamaica's, the gap between intention and execution often defines outcomes. Young people who learn early how money works before they have it are statistically better positioned to retain it later. Ultimately, Rondre Elliott's story is not about what he owns today, but about how he is preparing to own tomorrow. In a media environment filled with exaggeration, his relevance lies in realism. He reminds us that real economic power does not always announce itself loudly in youth. Sometimes it grows quietly, rooted in education, patience, and the willingness to play a long game. For viewers aged 45-65, that lesson may be the most valuable takeaway of all. Aiden Dunn. Aiden Dunn is often mentioned in conversations about young Jamaicans and wealth, but his story fits best in the category of early positioning rather than confirmed fortune. In discussions around the richest black kid in Jamaica, it is important to separate reality from exaggeration. There are no verified public records confirming that Aiden Dunn controls large assets, runs a multi-million-dollar company, or holds inherited wealth on the scale of Jamaica's elite business families. What makes his name relevant is not ownership today, but early exposure to financial thinking and ambition. Aiden represents a growing group of Jamaican youth who are learning about money assets and independence far earlier than previous generations. Whether through family influence, mentorship, or personal curiosity, he is often referenced as someone who shows interest in business self-development and long-term planning rather than short-term display. For an older audience, this distinction matters. Wealth is rarely built overnight. It is usually prepared for quietly long before it becomes visible. There are no confirmed net worth figures, registered companies, or investment portfolios publicly tied to Aiden Dunn. Any claim suggesting otherwise would cross into speculation and misinformation. What can responsibly be discussed is mindset. In Jamaica's economic environment, where access to capital is limited and mistakes are costly, young people who start learning financial discipline early gain a real advantage later. That advantage does not make headlines, but it often determines who succeeds in adulthood. Unlike celebrity children or heirs to entertainment fortunes, Aiden Dunn's relevance comes from possibility rather than privilege. He is not known for luxury branding or viral success stories. Instead, his name appears in conversations about youth potential and the importance of preparation. This reflects a traditional wealth-building philosophy. Understand money first. Control it later. Many of Jamaica's most successful business figures followed this exact path, even if their early years were invisible to the public. Within the broader theme of the richest black kid in Jamaica, Aiden Dunn represents a reminder that not every meaningful story is about millions. Some stories are about foundation, learning how wealth works before having it, avoiding early mistakes, and building credibility over time. For viewers aged 45 to 65, this perspective often resonates more deeply than sensational claims because it aligns with lived experience. Ultimately, Aiden Dunn's story is not about what he owns now, but about what he may be equipped to build later. In a media space crowded with exaggeration, his name stands as a symbol of early awareness and long-term thinking. And in real economics, those qualities often matter more than fast money ever could. On Legends of Black Excellence, stories like Aiden Dunn's force us to question how we define wealth in the first place. He is not a billionaire, not a celebrity heir, and not backed by viral hype. Yet his name appears in conversations about young black potential because of mindset preparation and early financial awareness. Some argue that without assets, there is no real power. Others believe power begins the moment a young mind understands ownership, discipline, and long-term strategy. So here's the real question for you. Is wealth measured by what you own today, or by how ready you are to control it tomorrow?